Book, The Last of the Old Media Empires, Murdoch's World. Author and NPR media correspondent David Folkenflik joins me now. David, good to see you. What's the significance of this trial for American viewers and for Rupert Murdoch?
Well, for American viewers, if you think about Rupert Murdoch, he's based right here in Manhattan, not so many blocks from where I'm sitting now at CNN at Columbus Circle. And yet he has, as you say, the sprawling media empire that goes across borders and across the globe. In the UK, you know, the two tabloid editors on trial, one went on to be the CEO of his British publishing arm. The other went on to be the chief PR official for Prime Minister David Cameron. And we're going to see in this trial, whether or not convictions are gained, the prosecution present evidence that shows how cozily the Murdoch media executives were working hand in glove with politicians of both major parties in a way that seemed to sort of forget or overlook the obligation, perhaps, this media empire had to the readers and the public that they served. I think you'll also see these incredible revelations about the degree to which, at least according to prosecutors, that bribery was a way of life within those newsrooms, that police officers and public officials were at times given money for information in a way that was illegal.
Now, you say that Murdoch remains undaunted. He doesn't plan on going anywhere. He's obviously very successful, very powerful, even during these dark days. Tell me about the psyche of this man. I assume he'll be able to survive this. Can his media empire survive it?
Well, you've seen him already do something he promised repeatedly not to do in print and on the record, and that is he split his beloved newspapers and a few auxiliary units off from these incredibly profitable other elements that have been propping up newspapers during the decline of the last decades. You know, if you think of Fox News, you think of B-Sky B in the UK, you think of the Fox television properties. Those have really pumped money in for newspapers like the New York Post, which has never made Rupert Murdoch a dime, and other newspapers in other parts of the world which have started to see their revenues decline. So he did that. At the same time, he announced in June a great fanfare when these companies split. He said, you know, few people are given a chance to begin anew, to have a second round at this, and I have. And there are two things striking about that. One of which is, you know, most people when running a publicly traded company, which News Corp and 21st Century Fox both are. They're owned by shareholders, but controlled really by him and his family. He thinks of it as his chance to begin anew. The second thing is he split from his wife, his third wife, Wendi Deng Murdoch. You know, in court papers he filed just within a few days of that. And it really meant that he was defining himself not only corporately anew, but personally as well, trying to figure out ways to rebuild the relationships with his children that have been so frayed during this scandal and this crisis, and a way to move forward even in the 82nd year of his life.
And David, obviously people are innocent until proven guilty, but generally speaking, how prevalent was phone hacking in the Fleet Street culture, in British newspaper culture, and how credible is it, the idea that somebody who is an editor or even higher would not know about that hacking?
Well, from the journalists I've talked to, it would not be credible that such widespread hacking could occur without the knowledge of top officials. You know, it's sort of mundane notions, but who controls the budgets? How would you apportion this money? That stuff goes up the levels in the tabloid culture pretty high. It is possible, indeed, no one has presented arguments that Rupert Murdoch knew of the hacking. He was taped at one point talking to journalists from the Sun tabloid in a way that seemed to indicate both knowledge of and dismissal of the seriousness of the idea of paying police officers for information, which is part of the trial that we're about to see unfold. So there's some question about whether Mr. Murdoch might have some knowledge on that regard, although he said he perhaps chose his words poorly. But as you suggest, there are claims that this was involved in other parts of the press. Trinity Mirror, the parent of the Daily Mirror, for which, you know, Piers Morgan, as a much younger man, served as editor. You know, there are questions about whether that newspaper organization had involvement too. He says he had no knowledge and no one broke the law under his tenure, and the police have not brought the degree of accusations for widespread violations that they have against the Murdoch property.